नहीं है तो अभी बढ़ेगा, अभी ऊपर ही जाए। ये क्या है, छोटा है। मैं 200 लोगों के लिए मिनिमम बात किया है। Morning friends, and we are back. We are back. Many of us the explanation, the what they are trying to tell us is you can form LLPs instead of companies, and you can manage LLPs better than the companies. And you know that it being a partnership, in and out of funds is possible. There is no double taxation. There are several advantages of LLP. So in future, uh, after some years, you will get CARO for LLP and CARO for on a separate Schedule 3 also, which is not there currently, similar to Schedule 3. But the advice is go for LLPs and not for companies. Company accounts and company, administration, governance is likely to substantially increase. We are of the opinion in institute that we might get even more items in CARO instead of getting it lesser and lesser. More and more responsibilities come to us as auditors, and many that is now being stated in the balance sheet will be an issue. Now, if you look at the recent amendment in CARO, that is over 16, I have given lecture on CARO 16 also, so we'll not repeat that, and we don't have a time also to do that. Some other time we can do. There are 21 clauses in new CARO, and some have counted sub clauses which are 47 or 49. There is a dispute, but whatever. But there are so many things we have to do in the new CARO. It is an advantage. I told you it increases my independence. Now this, this 25th February 28 came, it now deferred for the current year. Yes, the materiality need to be considered. Here, of course, CARO 20 guidance note is valid here on materiality because it is our guidance that we will not, and the guidance note says, look at SA 320. SA 320 on materiality should be followed. And there are several clauses on transactions, balances, transaction level materiality, balance level materiality, disclosure level materiality. So you'll have to first fix that, and in audit how you modify it, amend it based on the queries, etc. So we need to follow that. Need to exercise the judgment. This judgment you already know that what is in the CARO, whether it goes to the main report. There are two places it can go. One is main report, other is IFC report. Now, main report, friends, something will go only if affects true and fair view. Main what we are reporting will not affect true and fair view. Suppose even assume the loan is not appreciated by my comment saying that something is missing, something is amiss. Doesn't mean, remember, we are very eager to write everything which is, we feel very, where you say something, say title deeds not in the name of company. If you feel it is so, I'll tell you an example. 8 crores is the total balance sheet size. 6 crores is the land which is in dispute or in the name of the director or whatever. This is serious, right? This serious. This is true and fair issue that whether that asset is there or not. I paid 6 crore. My capital, which is in dispute. Now, therefore, one is qualification in CARO. If you give how you feel, and even guidance note will see subsequently said that if you don't get information, say what you asked and why you did not get. What was the reason for that information being not available to you for giving? So that is also to be seen. Coming to unfavorable comment needs to be given or not. Management will always say, saying also in bank audit, we have stated in MOC, management explanation also you give. Why? Because then the central auditor, when he reads your MOC, they cannot answer on the argument. So MOC will stand. Here it is not so. Here is one-sided report, right? I'm writing a CARO. So the institute says that it giving negative comment, it is not to be done, except in 2 circumstances. If you read the guidance note, I mean, this was there in 2016 guidance note also, but I'm just repeating it for better understanding that inclusion of management comment or explanation is necessary to make. Suppose, for example, I say that physical verification of the stock was not done, is my comment. Because one of the items is whether physical verification done, what is the difference, and whether it is properly adjusted. So that case, I am started writing on physical verification of asset is not done. Now it can be misleading in some cases. For example, why physical verification of stock was not done? Because there was a strike or lockout in March end. Now this last time, 2020, March 25th onwards, locked. So you have no way of going there and doing it. So what was done? It was done in June, July, whenever, then roll back, from that date. And so management explanation in such cases is needed. So you write stock was not, or asset was not very because of strike and lockout. It's a better way of, otherwise it becomes, harmful, misleading. Another case where it should be given, management explanation is, when you are having an unfavorable opinion, they will say why true and fair is being not commented by the auditor. So that is misleading. I mean, I'm saying that I have not taken the stock, and then in spite of that, the management proves to you and about the existence, condition, and value of the condition is right, that it is not obsolete, it is not bad. So condition of the inventory, and third is valuation of the inventory. If you are otherwise satisfied, how you will be satisfied? By subsequent events. Subsequent event will show you it is actually sold, right price above cost has been recovered, etc., etc. So in such a cases, and subsequent events show you, just don't stop at the comment saying that inventory value is not possible that day, but has been worked backward because of this. In number of lectures you will listen on schedule 3, and CARO will not help you. In CARO, in schedule 3 and schedule 3 guidance note gives you the form the reporting should be done. See, The original circular gives you a whole list of things that how you present the information in one composite format. Similarly, CARO guidance note, all our comments how we should make have been listed. You go to that and see. I'll show you one or two of them. That you go there and see instances, say in internal audit, say in various things, and how you should comment in each of the circumstances is actually drafted. Most of us don't, either bank audit or any other audit, forget this audit also, company audit, because we are poor in drafting. We either are not expressive, our expression in the language is not right, or we don't feel we can draft well, or I'm not able to put my thoughts in this format. So I feel जाने दो ना, नहीं करते हैं क्यों ऐसे. तो for such of us, for some of us, this CARO guidance note is a guidance on how to draft various paragraphs also. Please, downloadable format में available है from institute website. Keep it in your file. And I will request for CARO. Less time to speak. There are several things to be spoken, but right now in April, if you have a little time now, and see that those things are copied. So various things that are given, institute has given, keep those scenarios copied so that you can make some dummy reports or some of the client, you know, some of the client title dates, some of the client, some other problem. So put it there, what is there, so that it will 27th or 29th, when you sign something, it will not go wrong. How the NOC was obtained and on 27th and हुआ था एक ऑडिट ही नहीं है बोला 27th we said we are not signing, then we found that a return has been filed on last date. तो इसने किया, वो ITO बोला इसने किया, इसका नाम है XYZ का वो बैलेंस शीट पे. तो मैंने क्लाइंट को पूछा तू इसने तो NOC नहीं लिया, बोला श्रीनिवास जोशी तो दे देगा, इलेक्टेड मेंबर है ना, कैनॉट से नो. कहाँ ना बोलेगा मुझे, ले लूंगा, जरूरी है कहाँ कंप्लेंट करने वाला, मेरे सामने नहीं करने वाला, जाने दो, ऐसा होता है. तो लेकिन ये तो तैयार. So coming to this next one, notes which are mentioned in the guidance note on CARO. So they said that you read this separately. They are not giving you any guidance. Whenever this guidance was required on items, बोला वहां जाके देखो लाइन लिखा है, तो ये सब करना पड़ेगा. गाइडेंस नोट कितने टेक्निकल गाइड अदर गाइडेंस नोट में लिस्ट किए गए जो करने हैं साथ में. सो कमिंग टू इन्वेंटरी फ्रेंड्स, सब्जेक्ट nearer to the heart of all of us, of 10% or more in aggregate of each class of inventory noticed in physical verification. Class of inventory is what? Raw material, WIP, finished goods, or stock in trade. If the difference is more than 10%, is to. Therefore, the guidance note said now separate materiality is not to be considered because company may have materiality of 5% variance or 3% variance. MNCs may have only 1% variance. But secondly, and it's extremely, apply 10% threshold on net basis after adjusting excess and shortages in each class. Now, just giving you some example, bearings. Now, bearings have different types of bearings, right from 750 rupees to 7,500 rupees to whatever lakh rupees. Now, if there is a difference in one, of actually when the bearing was issued, it was showing suppose net loss in the overall valuation because the higher value bearing was actually issued instead of lower value, but shown as this. So there is a shortage there and higher. So, but there can be a problem in this. There can be a fraud in this that somebody has taken away. Now here there are some other, even though 10% is to be calculated in audit. I have issues personally in using this. Continuously bearings with high value are coming minus. For example, I'm just cautioning you. This is only for reporting, but auditor wo jo inquisitiveness hai or third eye hai, whatever you can say, skepticism hai, it should work. Now coming to exercise professional judgment, indeed, that's why the guidance note still says that you should have professional judgment in determining materiality for relevance of the guidance. Schedule 3 requires, so goods in transit raw material go there. Here you have to see that mode of valuation, you have to go by S2. Coming to the descript, so the question is, if it is not dealt, what is the discrepancy and impact of financial statement should be given? Now this will, we replace the physical stock valuation. So automatically the difference gets adjusted in consumption indirectly. So this will not happen, but still, if the impact on financial statement, if not adjusted, some of the cases, if it is serious, the management may say that we want to investigate. We don't want to just adjust in the books and go ahead. We will still go by book inventory or physical verification. Something is wrong. So I'm not accepting you go by the book value. We will see that these changes are there. In that case, you have to see what is what we feel, all of us sitting here. When I talked on CARO 16, it is very, first of all, as it is. As certified by management is now not acceptable anywhere. As taken, stock as taken, valued, and certified by the management. As are not available. Then how I have to reconcile take opening value? I have to find out whether that consumption is acceptable to me. In a sense, 70% or 80% of the consumption, whether the loss of 20% is acceptable, especially if I am giving IFC report, because then this 20% can be fraud. In a sense, cash sales not accounted. And this was very specifically stated in guidance note, which is not repeated in this guidance note. I'll request you to read that again. They say this is, and this is a stated that time that there can be a fraud in this, that this percentage loss is not acceptable to them, and it can be a cash sale not accounted. This is what the line is in 2016 guidance. That loss is acceptable, otherwise your working capital limit in excess of 5 crore only requires comment by the auditor in CARO. I mean, the assets of the other related party, etc. But on all items, 5 crore limit. Okay. Sanction limit. So sanction limit may be used, may not be used. So you have to see limit any time during the year was 5 crore and above, any time during the year. So it can be less and more. So you have to see that is similar all of us are now settled well, that if in one of the clauses I'm a small company, then I need not fall in private limited definition. Private limited definition, 1 crore capital, 1 crore borrowing anytime during 10 crore. And what is the small company? Now change from 50 lakhs to 2 crore capital, and 20 crore as from 10 crore to 20 crore as turnover. So if I fall in a small company definition, which is exempt from CARO, I need not again see in, if it is small company, here company, I don't have to look at any other. That management will have to give, you may not give it. I mean, you may not comment necessarily, but I personally feel when management says something is wrong in inventory, you need audit requires that. Now there are many provisions and etc. Now here again, advances in the nature of loans are to be covered. Your order has to be seen if advance is far more than value of industry requirement, industry averages. It is subsidiary, joint ventures, associates. You have to segregate in loans advances. State whether this is to be given by auditors. Right, whole thing in CARO. State whether terms are prejudicial. We'll come to prejudicial term. What is term? We normally consider the terms of interest. The schedule of repayment stipulated is also. That all short term or long term, both loans are covered. Number one. Number two, loans in cash or kind are also covered. Cash or kind. That is also. Where will be a kind? There is a contra entry. Asset received. Circumstances, case to case basis. And what is the delay? If it is not, there can be correspond. Look at the correspondence. Look at the reminders. Coming to the other points in loans and advances and guarantees and securities. Settle the old loan to the same party. Evergreening, what we call in bank audit. Evergreening जो करते रहते हैं, so that is aggregate amount that is renewed, extended or settled during the year, for which new loan is by the company, and that as a itna renew kiya. So that tells you that actually the persons whom loan was given is they are unable of fund. That पैसा गया वहां से आने वाला नहीं वापस. Either repayable on demand. So there are two kinds of loan. One are called repayable on demand, and second type of loan, there are no conditions at all. Generally, such loans are only to related party. Unrelated सब रहेगा document agreement. So CARO wants us to state as auditors either are repayable on demand or where related parties are terms is not stated. Now this will be almost 100% in private. 100% loans will go under this category. This is a diversion of comment only transaction of the year and not on all the transaction of the past. Coming to others in loans and advances, purpose of the loan and permissibility under various acts is to be seen, including Companies Act, persons authorized, etc. There are several sections mentioned. 179, of course, talks of powers of the board. 180 talks of restriction on power of the board, where there is no restriction. You should note that on taking a temporary advance or CC or similar loans, they can take without even, but they are excluded. CC, bill discounting, that is excluded from section 180, restriction on power of the board. Otherwise, of course, section 185 talks of loan to directors, where special resolution is required, where invested in a party, and loan to director is not allowed. To the parties, it should be by special resolution, and they should be utilized. I already told you for the activity. 186 talks of loan to third parties. Talks of investment to be held in name of company. Code is important, and that schedule in bank audit seminar also we have told you that accounts opened and closed during the year, all types of violations. They are closed before the year end. Similarly, so the guidance note says that loans given or received and squared up, etc. Saying that what are the covenants to be seen? It is not only the interest which is nearer to the yield, but whether security. When it is prejudicial, now whether it is prejudicial, maybe yes, that my liabilities are maturing in next 5 years, but I am giving 10-year loan, something prejudicial to interest term. Now, period of repayment, ability to lend. I may be myself borrowing capex and I'm still giving loans to an outsider, prejudicial to interest. Maybe standing other than subsidiaries. Subsidiary, that is not prejudicial to the interest, because all subsidiaries which I have formed and they are maybe critical for my working, then whether they make loss or profit, I will not contribute. I must check whether the financial position, financial standing of the borrower is right, because and whether they have any urgency available, and if they are not, then it is prejudicial to interest. Remember, prior approval of financial institution, I already utilization of funds means in utilization of funds, the applied for the purposes for which they were taken. If not, give amount and purpose for which it is actually used. So first clause says that whether every term loan taken, go to the sanction letter, see for what it was to be used, not used for that amount, and what is the This is nothing but diversion. So, which is there on 1st July 14, also talks of what is divergence, and this needs to be listed. Divergent could be construed if, that is what RBI said, utilization of short-term working capital for long-term purposes, deploying borrowed funds for purposes or activity or creation of asset other than those for which the loan was taken, transferring borrowed funds to subsidiaries and to companies, routing other than the lender bank or member of consortium without permission of the lender, acquiring equities or debt of other companies without approval of the lender, and shortfall of deployment of fund vis-a-vis amount disbursed. Then current maturities of long-term loans in current maturity which come in current liability should be taken as long term. First of all, it should be added back to get that thing done. And repayment or redemption of long term debt is also application. Short. Suppose I find long term, short term, small difference. They not exactly. Actually, what is the ideal situation? I should have enough capital, quasi capital to fund the assets, etc., with margin, and I must have margin in working. Every loan from other than bank and purpose of business can be even a subsidy. You have to use that loan. Doesn't mean that it maybe you can use for various things in the. This is a caution that when a general purpose loan is taken without anything said there, still a divergent clause will apply if these. So that is the guidance. For borrowings of the funds, report person to meet the obligation or lending for giving it to subsidiaries, associate, joint venture. Loans taken and paid up during the year also as is obvious to be seen because on either of the balance sheet. So don't go by balance sheet, go by the ledger accounts. Raising of loan securities in subsidiary, joint venture, associate companies to be seen. I gave you an example. Here we were talking of only can be seen as a support that this security was given. Subsection 9 of the for directors and employees to report concern or given grievances. So concerns, and which is applicable to whom? All of persons. Now see SEBI or talks mandates whistleblower for whom it is everybody. That is the whistleblower mechanism will come for creditors, debtors, my shareholders, suppliers, everybody. This whistleblower under SEBI, when it is applicable, it is applicable to all types of complaint. I'll come to why I am distinguishing that. And it says to freely communicate unethical practices. The purpose, they are not talking of genuine grievances and genuine concerns. Directors and employees. They are talking of everybody, all stakeholders. There is an audit committee which handles all this, and it is also in the on the website. What is the mechanism? And you have to also write in the report what happened. Is whether companies has this process and the procedure. And, here, guide I mentioned to the whistleblower mechanism, which I have given there. They say that concerned about questionable accounting or internal controls not being there or auditing matters that audit is not appropriate. So there can be whistleblower for several other in the guidance note. So guidance note tells you about 179.9, it tells you about SEBI purpose, and it also tells you about what are the other things. Auditor may consider principles of materiality. So every whistleblower complaint is not to be listed. Depending on materiality clause, you can go. Action taken by the management is to be seen on procedure on complaint received and management action. Now here, when you will have to on whistleblower need not be considered by auditor. Anything alleged financial effect we will have to see. And fraud. This is our says auditor to analyze stages of identification of fraud as per 80. Now new guidance note. Guidance note on reporting of fraud under one. Speculation, suspicion, reason to believe, and knowledge. Change the audit process accordingly. Now, an internal audit clause was there in CARO, then somewhere it vanished in between. Now it has been so we are saying this. Verify whether it is commenced internal audit. Internal audit. So internal audit is applicable to every listed company, every unlisted public company for 100 crore turnover or 100 crore. For external, now coming to this, there is an external agency in internal audit. Many things. This is this needs friends documentation that you have depended on that based on all this we have seen, and therefore we are dependent, because when the fraud occurs or when the major error occurs, you can, if can review the independence of the auditor, really whether he is independent. To the internal audit. so that he is independent and giving, two things if he will be effective. If he is given technical assistance, if he is given technical assistance, now I know suppose Tata Motors engineers, because that is what will have cost accountants, company secretaries, MD. Statutory auditor may have meeting with statement. Now, again, on the, if there are reports, PR report, and their intern timing and extent need to be seen. Hence, cash losses, new clause. Now, cash losses we were there, we are giving in the past, but if there are cash losses for more than 1 year, you have to segregate. That first year there was cash loss, second year no. Now, reporting cash losses for 2 years, then cash loss is what? Every chartered accountant knows what cash loss is. Now, adjustment for effect of qualification in respective audit reports. This is very important. Yes, if there are serious qualifications in the audit report, need to be for the amount and then cash loss that need to be found out. This is not, this would not have been normally known to us. We will go by the book cash loss. They say if there are qualifications in the nature, they adjust that figure of the cash losses and do not use cash flow statement. Cash flow of operating activities only. That operating activities does not include interest and dividend, etc., which is a part of cash losses. For cash losses, you will have to consider. So don't go by cash flow statement. Calculate cash losses, you know the definition. Coming to resignation of statutory auditor, we are very happy now when we get work. So ये गया मैं आया. अभी ठीक है, but what is to be seen in the resignation? Right. See the problem of resignation nowadays, because we are auditor for 5 years. They register as, so you have to actually resign. Otherwise, you have to be and concerns that I'll tell you about the resignation. When in Jet, Big Four resigned, I know who was that. That Jet is not giving us the amount available with them, how they will pay. They are not able to show. They say investor aane wala hai. I said straight away as a consortium leader, I will not pay. We are not paying anything to Jet. Khatam. तो वो चला नहीं ना. They were not able to show anything concrete. So he resigned. New auditor came in, who was much smaller firm than that. Obviously, they signed one more quarter and Jet failed in full. Have issues, objections, and concerns. The guidance note says, please give this. There are two types. One is friends. You should also know. We should know that now under the new ethical standards of which are from which are becoming which are become new, require us to reply. If is to be given, that is, we have to reply and assist the new auditor in getting the assignment, understanding the assignment. Therefore, all these objections will have to be given. Company law section 140 subsection 2, file ADT 3. You are aware, within 30 days, if you don't file, huge penalty. It was 50,000 or so. We should indicate there the reasons for our and see what we write. Generally, the ROC is rejecting for listed companies, not rejecting for private companies. But guidance note says the other, I have other preoccupation, I have personal reasons, I have administrative reasons, I have health reasons, I have mutually consented to resign, or unavoidable reasons. They are all ambiguous and shouldn't be accepted. Resignation, friends. Consider implementation. Now, this is something new to be considered. I never knew there is an implementation guide on resignation and withdrawal from engagement, and you need to read that. And it says that in the letter of resignation, the auditor has to state what. So there are several things: inability to obtain sufficient evidence, then reason why he was not able to get that evidence, then the possible effect on financial statement of undetected misstatement, material misstatement of specific amount, then give description, etc. Bona fide reason for his inability, what he communicated to management, what was management response, and thereafter the last limited review report, what he said. Now, one of the major things, SEBI circular also talks of resignation, and they ask, they says that evidence that management imposed limitation say nahi hai ki there is a genuine problem. It says that there is a lack of information, or there is what was exactly the problem to you. So SEBI has much explanation that there is no concern beyond what is stated in it. There's a last item I'll almost last year, that material uncertainty in meeting liabilities. Clause for auditor. This is futuristic. Now, too futuristic. I told you in CWI time, how many years pending, etc. And this is second. Consider, this is the clause in the CARO which says you consider financial ratios, aging, expected date of realization of financial assets, and payment of liabilities, other information. We look at cash flow, including realization of financial assets. And what is management plan? What is management plan? To meet the liabilities, like in case of JET or others, which are in difficulty, even our clients. Non-core assets, one plan. Other can be borrow money. Other can be restructuring of debt. Others can be reduce or delay the expenditure. The directors are ready to increase capital. Now, what we have, there a plan exists. Second is that there is some solution exists. And evaluate whether even after this is done, क्या होगा, मुझे 30 करोड़ चाहिए, ये सब 5 करोड़ के लिए नाटक चल रहा है, मुझे दिखाया कुछ वो नहीं। 570 going concern. Many times, I think I have spoken several times on several auditing standard. 570 is my favorite standard to speak. Sometimes we'll speak here also. With consider recoverability of financial assets based on tax arrangement, historical trend, correspondence. Shown to us, all losses they are paying, but whether they have ability to pay, they may be. This is of course in bank audit, you get such support letters from sugar factories. They are into heavy losses. Capital one say 10 crore, loss 100 crore. So क्या उसका corporate guarantee का कोई मतलब नहीं ना. So you see that also, whether that is shown to you as a proof of this that they will pay. Case ratios need to be calculated. Friends, the guidance note says before writing ratios on the date of signing balance sheet also, date of audit report, date of audit report. So two ratios, one what we are given as of March, another ratios. So that difference in the ratios will tell you how they are sliding down. Consider then consider the MIS of the subsequent one, cash flows. And now one extremely important thing to tell you, they say give negative assurance. You know what? That what I have received, see, stating that he neither gives guarantee nor any assurance that all liabilities falling due would be actually discharged. Now this is actually, if you go to the guidance note page 03, if you have a physical guidance note, which I have, page 203, or if you have downloaded para N of this particular clause, tells you a full as to how we are not responsible in actual practice, in spite of doing all this, for saying that this is that it exists, and I am not, even though I say it doesn't exist, doesn't mean they will pay off. There can be many other things responsible. The last thing I'll say before handing over is CARO on CFS. On CARO on CFS, whether the people said, Mahindra, 118 subsidiaries. Of qualification, adverse remark, disclaimers. That is not to be compiled. Why it is not to be compiled? Because when you are merging the it's your call. But as far as CARO is concerned, they want all the adverse comments in the respective subsidiaries. Now this is subsidiary. How you will give this? So finally, it is settled like this, that in case of subsidiaries, only the details of companies, list of number, कारो का जो अपना है ना 1 to 47 सब क्लॉज 21 क्लॉजेस, उसका नंबर देना है सिर्फ, कि ये नंबर में अभी क्यों नंबर इज ऑलरेडी ऑन द वेबसाइट ऑफ द सेम कंपनी, लिस्टेड कंपनी के वेबसाइट में सब सब्सिडियरी के आपको ये क्लॉज में नेगेटिव कमेंट है. फॉर एग्जांपल एसेट्स, सपोज एसेट का नेगेटिव कमेंट 10 सब्सिडियरी में, आई जस्ट लिस्ट आउट फर्स्ट क्लॉज एसेट इज काउंटेड, सपोज 10 सब्सिडियरीज, उसका नंबर क्लॉज नंबर 1B नेगेटिव कमेंट है. सेकेंडली, आई डोंट हैव टू comment, adverse comment. I have to give only if the subsidiary accounts are not finalized, you have to state that suppose out of 118 subsidiaries, 18 are not audited on the date I am giving only for 100. These 18 subsidiaries छोड़ के बाकी सबका देंगे, हमारा छपाएंगे, ऐसा नहीं है. हमारा देना है, फिर सब्सिडियरी का भी उसमें ऐड करना है, हमारा पूरा देना है. और सब्सिडियरी का 21 क्लॉज में ओनली सब्सिडियरी का लिस्टिंग करना है, हमारा 20 में होगा पूरा कवर. टेक्स्ट इज नॉट टू बी गिवन एंड नो मटेरियल इज नॉट मटेरियल सब्सिडियरी. दिस क्लॉज 118 में 50 सब्सिडियरी बेकार है, उसका ऐसे कुछ नहीं करो, पूरा के पूरा लिस्टिंग आपको करना है. थैंक्स अ लॉट. नाउ लेट अस लिसन टू आवर एक्सपर्ट. लेस टाइम.
Talk on the topic like Schedule 3 and the CARO, it requires a lot of efforts in the preparation. So truly speaking, the Shriniwas Joshi sir is also a very commendable presentation today. But even yet, we are not concluding his session. He is going to be there till end. Now, since it's time for our second speaker, CA Yagnesh Desai. So we would like to now invite him for the second session. So I'm inviting our past convener, CA Introduce our second speaker here, Yagnesh Desai.
Anyone has any serious question to ask before we start? Because as it is, I'm not giving you any time to talk on division. Yeah.
Sir, you clarified about that.
It is a private, what you are talking of, it is a private company. Exemption to any private company having capital plus reserve, etc., less than 1 crore, share premium, etc., less than 1 crore. Then borrowing any time during the year less than 1 crore and turnover less than 10 crore is a private limited exempt. But if you are in the small company definition, only two things are in small company. What is in small company? Now 2 crore capital and 20 crore turnover, right? Previously it was 50 lakhs capital and 2 crore turnover. Now it is increased to 2 crore capital and 20 crore turnover. So moment I am a small company under new definition of small company, CARO is not applicable. So I will not again go to the second definition in private limited and say, नहीं, यहाँ violation है. मेरा capital 1.5 crore है तो आएगा. Because they are alternative है ना. तीनों में से एक भी violation हो गया तो I will have to do it, right? Yeah. So वो नहीं है. If I am a small company, suppose I am Section 8 company, my capital is 2 crore. My Section 8 company, no CARO. Once I fall in a particular category of exemption, then other items are not to be seen, is what I said in applicability. This was there in 16 CARO also, or prior also. That applicability has to be type of company wise. Yeah. Capital and 20 crore turnover. Yes. Again, I say that if you are a small company, claim exemption in small company, then you don't have to go to private company definition. If you are a Section 8 company, don't say you are exceeded in private company definition. You don't have to see all the clauses together कि एक में भी है तो CARO है, नहीं है. So I think ये सब है तो better it is not there, right? तो Schedule 3 Any other? Nothing. How about it? And yeah, subsidiary and holding. That is there in all our Companies Act, you know. All exemptions are not to listed companies or their subsidiaries or holding companies. That is not there in anywhere in the act. So that is not there. But otherwise, that it's very high limit for private limited 200 crore and 100 crore. Yeah. 83 can be seen by inspection by me. Suppose you don't give, you are a resigning auditor, I come in, I can see. No, not there, then you forget. Then you, in any case, I am asking NOC, where I told you under new ethical standard, I have to state while giving NOC what are the issues. No, if he has not filed, it is up to him. He can be penalized under company law for not filing. See, it is not like resignation of a director. Resignation of director are two forms, 11 and 12. Now 11 company has to file, 12 director has to file, but 12 is optional. 11 is not optional when director goes out. So it is not optional. Here it is not so. ADT 3 he has to file. If he doesn't file it, so he doesn't file. But under SEBI regulation, the company has to inform the stock exchange. Auditor has resigned and why. I told you there is an annexure A in SEBI regulation which I gave you. In that, the full details have to be written by the auditor before resigning, and that goes to SEBI on the website of SEBI why auditor has resigned. So even if ADT 3 is not available with reasons, that is available for listed companies. For non-listed companies, you have an issue that either he doesn't respond to you, he should under ethical standard, he doesn't respond to you and he doesn't file ADT 3. So you will go by discussion with management. Why he has resigned, what, get a management representation letter, why he resigned according to you. And based on that, you go ahead, that there was no other issue other than fees probably, or other than his ill health. Maybe really what was the issue. They will tell that it is not possible for us to go along with him and therefore he has resigned. But resignation letter of the auditor has to be on record to the company, at least to the directors of the company. Anyone else? Okay.
So you schedule.
Yeah. Yes.
So whether to provide
But provision for raw material, etc., will come in trade payable. only for material and services will come there. Otherwise, it will come in other liabilities. Now, it is a liability, but suppose, as I say, the interest payable to creditor also is other liability, not trade creditor. We have to do aging only of trade creditor. There, the unbilled. Unbilled is I have not received the bill, but I am finalizing. The goods are received. I have provided for that. I have accounted that as a part of my stock, or I have sold it also if necessary. But other side, I'm sure that is that unbilled portion, which will come in aging because it is nothing but liability. Maybe it is not payable immediately. It is less than 30 days. I mean, now in case of liability is less than 1 year. In case of receivable, it is less than 6 months to 1 year, etc. So everything will come less than 1 year, but it has to be shown separately, unbilled. Unbilled revenue side, right? Revenue side. Yes. In unbilled revenue side of the unbilled part, you have to show that first of all, it is receivable under the contractual terms and party has accepted it, subsequently paid also. Most of the time you can see the payment being received in May, June or something of that. So it is unbilled. So you take it in unbilled if it is receivable by contract, not because suppose there are penalties which the builders charge on it. That may not be receivable at all. First of all, GST reconciliation is a totally new topic. Manish was here, Gadia. We could have asked him so many things on that. But I know the problem. Two things will be serious issues in audit, sir. One is 2A reconciliation. Second is 26A reconciliation. This poses huge problem. Start with 2A reconciliation for 9 months. Start with 26A reconciliation for 9 months. Right now in April is not this year. There will be no extension, and institute is not going to go there for extension. That in any case lady doesn't accept, no. क्या फायदा है, तो नहीं आने वाला, तो क्या करो, चालू करो ये दोनों 9 months का, 3 month का आ जाएगा 2 महीने के बाद करो, नहीं तो ऑडिट नहीं होने वाला। ये 2 रिकंसिलिएशन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। ये बाकी का ठीक है, ये सब हो जाएगा। वी नो द क्लाइंट वेल, तो अदर रिस्पॉन्सेस मे नॉट बी एज नेगेटिव, बट ये 2 में ना फिगर्स चेंज होते हैं, as you said, accounting changes. What I have to account, whether something in GST is cannot be claimed, suppose, then it cannot be claimed, something like that. No. Even otherwise, you tell me the provision for statutory audit fee should be there. When he bills me, GST is payable. No, he has not done the audit also. See, he has done the audit in the next year. He has not done it now. He will bill me next year. So all such kind of provision, we don't have GST or not done. But TDS, because of the provision under TDS, we have to do. Otherwise, even that I would not have done. But now I show net provision and TDS as a provision, which I pay by May end. So that's a different thing. But otherwise, GST is not to be considered on all these aspects. Yes. Anyone else? Yes. It will apply to all subsidiary of a foreign company. Yes. Even otherwise, yes, it will apply. Yes, it will apply to subsidiary of a foreign company. It will apply, and our subsidiaries in foreign countries also it will apply. The other way around. Our company is having, if our company is covered, its subsidiaries for a CFS. In any case, I need everything in the same format. In the same format, CARO. Otherwise, how I'll make it? Company and foreign company also. No? Foreign company also is covered. Send to Yagnesh.
Pleasure to introduce CA Yagnesh Desai. He is a regular speaker at JB Nagar Study Circle. He is CA and CPA USA. practicing since August 1983, has wide knowledge of audit of corporate and taxation matters, actively associated with activities of the Institute of CA Yagnesh Desai is a trainer for IFRS for certificate course of Ind AS conducted by ICAI, trainer for diploma in IFRS examination conducted by ACCA of UK. He composed and derived e-lectures for accounting standards for ICAI, speaker on accounting and auditing standards at various seminars of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He also delivered motivational speeches at various national conventions and students' conferences. Have trained many CPAs of Philippines on IFRS. Between April 2009 till date, he delivered many sessions, seminars across cities and across countries. This is his 1084th session. Did Icon 2020-21 of Mumbai City by Times Group. Times Group. Completed sustainability report course and passed the exam as well. With this brief introduction, I welcome CA Yagnesh Desai ji. I now request CA Mandip Talwar to present on behalf of JB Nagar Study Circle of WRC.
Gentlemen, to answer your question is to support Sriniwas ji. He can come. 12 says very clearly, if a company is a small company, do through 16 covers. It is a very good deliberation by you'll see my presentation more like a manual because sir was very conceptual. The valuation of property plant equipment. आप 20 में से 15 ओवर खेल चुके हैं तो मुझे थोड़ा रैश बैटिंग करना होगा. एक्सक्यूज मी फॉर दैट. फ्रेंड्स, आई हैव डन वन मोर थिंग. सॉरी, बट उन्होंने सर, I was given two options. Either you come in the second half or the first half. I said, sir को सुनना मेरा भी सौभाग्य है.
The last 5.
नहीं, सही बात. I think I prepared the prototype of balance sheet for Division 2. And with all notes to accounts and everything, so आपको केवल copy paste figure डालने और sign करने हैं. Okay, including the ratios and everything is being linked to that. And some other materials are also there, which I'll share with you. So my work is to blend the Division 2 and 3 with the CARO. Correct? And then you see that if something is there in Division 2, 3, is same clause is there in CARO, yes or no? And if yes, कुछ विवरण क्या है? As sir has covered many things. तो मेरे लिए बहुत कुछ छोड़ा है. Thank you so much, sir. You covered so many things. Like for example, you said that when it comes to the 186, you need to take the if the amounts are outstanding, you need to take the permission of the PFI, and very importantly, directors, all the directors present there must agree to it. So like this, if those things come up here, I'll make brush up soon. This is again for the as far as this Division 2 is concerned, the word was shall even from beginning. It was only for the Division 1, covering Division 1, so 2 and 3. Yeah. Yeah, but may tha, अब may का shall हो गया वहां पे. It was May, Miss April May की बात नहीं. It was optional, but now it is compulsory. Okay, even in Division 1 as well. Very as far as this change is concerned, this change is covered only for part 2, Division 2, and not 3. Division 2 and 3 are more or less same, but this change of the lease liabilities and all this is covered only in Division 2. So the reason being, Division 3 does not follow the current assets and current liabilities. Correct? They follow the liquidated approach. Yeah. This we've seen about the now here, why they've added this? The idea of adding this in Des 8 talks about the retrospective restatement in case there is a change in an accounting policy or change in the classification or restatement. That means restatement of any element of the financial statements, which is nothing but the rectification of an error. But I am wondering one thing, sir, if there is an error, in a very rare, the rarest cases, the changes will be there in the paid up share capital. If I'm restating my financial statement, it reminds me only one thing, and that compound financial instrument, but very rare thing you find that 8, an entity has to give the third balance sheet. That is when it changes an accounting policy retrospectively or restate an element of the financial statements that is nothing but the rectification of an error and reclassification. So this is basically to be in sync with IS in this 8 that they've introduced this.
Yagnesh, one example of
I'll be very
for
happy
the
to.
benefit of all, you know, from physical version of shares.
Yeah.
Transfer could understand this is a fake share. They were in the market much beyond the actual example.
In fact, we are very.
Then they decided they will honor it. They will not go into now fake share issue because they have 30 lakh shareholders even that time. They say it is impossible.
It is. It's not because of the error.
We give everybody who has share, I'll demand. That time share capital change.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And then you'll see the equity share capital both for the current period and the earlier period. But this is for the current period. And here you'll see the share capital money allotment here. This is the case where the chances or the likelihood of the allotment of shares are very much correct, in the sense that the company is likely to issue the shares against the allotment money. But what about the allotment money which for the which the company is not going to allot the shares? वो कहाँ दिखाएंगे? This is the case where the share application money is a part of the equity. What about the money which is for which the shares may not be issued? Absolutely correct answer. It will not form part of this. And then equity component of the compound financial instrument, your attention is drawn to Ind AS 10. The convertible, the compound financial instrument. There, the requirement of the standard is to split this debt instrument into A, the debt, and B, the equity. This is for the standalone financial statements. This pro forma is for the standalone financial statements. For the CFS, total for this, for the owners, there'll be one more column that is for the non-controlling interest, and then it will be a total on the outside. So this example given is only for the SFS, but for CFS, that is the consolidated financial statements, there will be two more columns. Now, the property, plant, equipment, and intangible assets. Here they say that the reconciliation of the gross amount, the movement and everything is to be given. These paras say that if the change is 10% or more in aggregate of the net carrying amount of the value of it, then only you have to show. But if you look at the Index 16 and the para 73 says, guidance note, I have given wherever possible the para number of the guidance note for your quick perusal. It's 8.1.1.18. And section this para 73 of Index 16 says that regardless of the threshold limit of any percentage, you need to give the reconciliation of the changes in the revaluation. Or so. Even if the change is more than 2% or 5%, but less than 10%, you are supposed to give these issues as a result of the revaluation pursuant to paragraph 73 of Index 16. And just corollary, now this is the CARO requirement, okay, where it says 10% or more in more detail, but where 10% threshold limit. And again, as I mentioned to you, if there is a revaluation, do take into consideration Index 12, deferred tax, whether deferred tax. Very important thing, the journal entries debit your accumulated debt. So-called net WDV will become the gross WDV, and then you add up the revaluation amount to that. Important thing is that when the revaluation is done, it has to be done as per the CARO by the registered value. 7 for the listed company audit committee, and for the unlisted companies or for the private company where audit committee is not required, rather he has to be appointed by the board of the company. There is one more change here. This change is there in division 2 only, and obviously not in division 3. Friends, any changes which relate to current assets or other current liabilities, something like that, assets and liability, therefore be liquidated. So this portion is applicable only to division 2. What is security deposit? What they've done, sir? other financial assets. Now again, I'm bringing the concept of Ind AS 109 and Ind AS 32, which says that security deposit. Friends, security deposit can be of two types, right? One which is receivable and the one which is not receivable. Correct? The one security deposit which is envisaged here is the one which is receivable in cash. The financial assets from the perspective of IS 32. So if I give a deposit and which is going to be adjusted against the future rent, then this is not the deposit which the standard is talking about, because that is not a financial assets. Financial asset means हमें कुछ it's other than the cash or any other adjustment. In a nutshell, you're not going to get cash from the other party. That means there is no obligation on the other party to pay the cash or the cash equivalent or any other assets, right? So then it is not a security deposit. So that security deposit will fall under the non-financial assets. Sir, Ind AS के नजरिए से deposit, whether it is refundable or not, financial assets, then if it is not a financial asset, there is no question of discounting it to the present value. So very important for you to understand where it's a security deposit from the perspective of IS 32, Ind AS 32 and Ind AS 9. So again, this again has been discussed by Sir, that as far as Sir, whatever you discuss, whatever Sir has discussed about the CARO, please allow me to skip that, because that will be here. I've added one more thing here. Promoters have been defined in the subsection 69 of section 2. But if there is an increase in the holding of the promoters as a result of the additional capital, then I would suggest that please look at the PAS 3 forms and all these and see if there are any premiums or not. It's quite possible that maybe some premium or not. In that case, you have to see addition section 42, 62. And again, very important, when we do all this, it could be a company, but it could be a startup company. So few of the provisions of the Companies Act not applicable to the startup company, like that of the deposits, section 673 is not applicable to the startup company. When it comes to the income tax 56 section 2/7 about the share premium account is also not applicable to the startup company. But if it is not a startup company, then make sure, and if the shares have been issued at the premium, make sure that whether the RVO certificate has been obtained or not, and if it is, if the promoters are that of the overseas, that means if they brought the money in the foreign exchange, then what is to be done? Whose valuation report is required, sir? And most are very important for that. So because in that case, you need to file FCGPR form with the RBI. Increase in the promoters holding should trigger to look at those other numbers and other compliances. Maybe because they are not the one who actually signed the memorandum and articles, because many of them already again and gone and settled abroad. We're mentioning time and again. So like this, I would suggest one more thing, a general advice, that please look at the various forms of companies and various registers to be maintained by the companies of the Companies Act. Like for example, you have to file for the charges CHS 7 form, you have to file MBP 2 form, you put MBP 2 form, right? Then DPT 3 form. Then when it comes to the CSR, very recently, CSR 2 form was supposed to be filed with the Register of Companies for the unutilized amount of the CSR money, right, sir? So various registers and form you must pursue and see that whether those have been accounted or, this part again, whatever is concerned about current assets and liabilities is not applicable to Division 3. Then again, for the medium and small and medium enterprises, the very important form which you need to also check as a corroborative evidence is MSME 1 and MSME is to be filed twice a year, right? And now I think 30th April is the deadline for the MSME 1 forms. So these forms will come to your rescue and help you as to whether figures are met. Just now, I think you had mentioned about the sustainability or the whether the company will be able to meet its obligation when we come due. So for that also, the disclosures as per the Index 107, which talks about the maturity analysis of the debts, in the sense the financial assets and financial liability, also will help you immensely to find whether the certain liabilities are due for repayment in 1 year, within 1 year by the entity. So all these disclosures interacting, you need to interact and integrate all this disclosure requirement of the index as well as the certain reports, certain forms lodged with the ROC. Now there is one clause which says, now these are the disclosure requirement where they come for the specific purpose for which it was taken at the balance sheet date. Now, again here, on 31st March, the company may not have used it, but company may have used before the account. So in that case, even that is to be considered as that, while reporting it. And both borrowings are taken into account, and the relevant. I'll give you a small example. The company has borrowed funds to buy, say, 100 IP core IP, laptops. But they didn't use it for these laptops. They are using for something advanced version of that. So will you think that it is the same purpose or not? It is the same purpose. Of the assets are being, if the funds are being deployed for the improved version of a particular asset for which it was actually sanctioned, that is also considered to be the application of the funds for this. Now they say there is no one-to-one match is not required. No one-to-one balance. Correct? So there is no nexus to be established. If the company has taken a borrowed loan of about, say, 1 crore, and if you invested 1 crore, that is enough. Only the money which was received from the bank need not directly be used for that. The point is that no one-to-one, no nexus to be established for that. Now, the company has received the funds, say, on 1st of March. And 31st March, companies unable to use this money for the deployment of the purposes for which the loan was obtained specifically. The deviation from this clause? No, correct? The ultimate aim is to that. And as Sir has said correctly, the CARO guidance has given the specimen of the paragraphs at the end of each clause, both positive and negative. Where the company has complied with the certain provisions and where the company has not complied with certain provisions. So those also must be said that one should always make a prototype or of the CARO report. And I remember in April, when Sir was the chief speaker, he had mentioned that though this is going to be applicable for the financial year 21-22, and we normally will report in and after the year end, but one must concurrently start working on this CARO from now only, especially this list is concerned. The word is bought it for a building and your land, and then you are diverting to the building. So those As far as the CARO is concerned, it talks about the only the term is the clause, whereas this is a narrow clause. One thing that when we are reporting for the disclosures for division 2 and 3, you must try and sync your disclosure with the CARO, because CARO में कहीं और कुछ लिख दिया and यहाँ पे कुछ और लिख दिया, तो this could be very devastating for us. Here with the disclosure requirement is just to make you feel that please try and be careful about these clauses which are there in CARO also, because दोनों का आप match कीजिए कि whether वो सुसंगत है कि नहीं. Correct, sir? Because if there is any discrepancy, that could go against you. Now, wherever there is a wider clause, use that. As far as CARO is concerned, it is confined to term loan only, but as far as the division 2 is concerned, it talks about any borrowings. Then I think as I made you is based on the CARO guidance note, various guidance issued by the ICA. They say no one-to-one relationships to application of the fund in total should be considered. Is one is you to see the events after the reporting period. Examples of the diversion of funds, utilize it of short-term working capital for the long-term. Again, there is a requirement in the CARO also to report on this, whether the funds long-term has been used for the short-term or vice versa. Deploying borrowed funds for the purposes, activities, creation of assets other than for those for which the loan was sanctioned. These are all examples which means that there is a diversion of fund. Then it comes to the title deed of the immobile property. There is a same clause. I have done one more thing, sir. Joshi Saab has mentioned that at the end of each para of CARO, they have given wherever possible the format in which you need to disclose this information, right, sir? And there are about 15 to 16 formats in Excel which I have converted and वो लाया हूँ सिर्फ और सिर्फ आपके लिए. So I'll share, and I prepared one balance sheet also, both for division 1, for all three division 1, division 2, and division 3. And division 1 is very exhaustive, wherein the accounting ratios have been linked to the particular numbers of the field. Okay, sir? You know, I owe a lot to institute, I owe a lot to my professional brother. जो शान शोहरत जो मिली है मुझे दी है केवल एक ही ने, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. उसके लिए no conditions apply. Okay, sir. So this I'm going to share with you all, and CARO and the division 1, 2, 3 requirement of the disclosure. All you need to do is please see that they are in sync with each other. And if two requirements are there, one is a narrow one and the second is the broader one, focus on the broader one. Because as Joshi sir has mentioned, these are the minimum requirements. They are augmented by many other things. Sir, iska matlab ye nahi ki we have to confine to division 2 only. I give a simple example that as per Ind AS 33, and Ind AS 105, Ind AS 33, you have to give the EPS of the diluted, diluted and basic. But besides that, as per Ind AS 105, you have to give the UP for the discontinued, continued, and the total operations. And as sir has said, the act and the standard prevails. But there is one example where standards has taken a back foot. There is one example where the standard has taken a back foot and it paved the way to Ind AS 19, paragraph 133 of Ind AS 19, that deals with the employee benefits. So it doesn't say that employee obligations have to be bifurcated into current and non-current liabilities. There we have to take guidance of paragraph 7.9.c of the the guidance note. Paragraph 7.9.c says that you can, in that case, bifurcate into current and non-current, for which para 133 of Ind AS 19 is silent. So यहाँ पे Schedule 3 has an age above the standard. Because standard is silent, then the deed of immobile property not held in the name of the company. Here, they have added one more thing. Other than the properties where the company is lessee and the lease agreements are duly executed. This covers Ind AS 116, wherein they refer to the ROU. So quite obvious and quite logical that for those assets, the title may not be in the name. He has given one example, but since I hail from a place called Vapi, and where there are a lot of agricultural properties, I'll give an example that normally an agricultural property has to be bought only by the agriculturist, right? It cannot be bought by for the non-agriculture purpose. But there is section 64 or section 63, which says that, which allows you 6 months time to buy agricultural land and conversion process into NA, and that may take about 6 months time, or maybe in some cases the extension given by the collector. So there, when a company buys an agricultural land, with the ultimate aim to use it for the industrial purposes, to convert into NA, it may take about 6 months time. So there could be a genuine case that you bought a property, but it is still not transferred in the company's name. Unless the producer's company. यहाँ नहीं काम आएगा. Is the producer agro producer company. Producer company नहीं, एक नई फसल है अभी. Unless सर मैंने कहा कि the company purpose is to use for the industrial purpose. Yeah. And that's why it can buy agricultural property, conditions apply, it will convert into the NA 64A of the land property. Now, when it comes to the immobile property, let us read this. Computer. Title lease of immobile properties and not held in the name of the company, but here immobile property is not classified as property plan equipment. CARO 2020 is not applicable. Again, this is a direct extract from the CARO guidance. Believe me, sir. I would share my experience. In last 3 to 4 months, I must have read CARO guidance nothing less than 10 times. Off with everything shut down. Every time I see, oh my God, I missed out that point. So friends, that is an amazing guidance, publication by that. Can I digress for 2 minutes? I'm a CPA from USA. So I know the value of these materials. The price 300-400 rupees kuch hogi. I would say, had this been a USA, it would have been $400. And get that you can always download this material free of cost. You AICP ki fee dete, lale pad jate sir. They're in dollars, and still we don't get anything from them. Most the AICP is sir. जैसे उपकार करते हैं ऐसा आपको स्टैंडर्ड की कॉपी देंगे. फॉर दैट आई हैव टू पे $5 $10 ऑफिशियल कॉपीज. हियर इंस्टीट्यूट इज गिविंग व्हाट नॉट सर. हमारे ये एनी एस्पेक्ट यू फाइंड गाइडेंस, नो टेक्निकल गाइडेंस, दिस दैट एवरीथिंग. बट एक बात सही है इक्वली कि जो चीज Facts, sir. Otherwise, volcano of materials are there. Sir, वो जोशी साहब को ही पता चलेगा कि कितने पापड़ बेलने पड़ते थे ये गाइडेंस नोट लाने में. And they've seen that, you know, how much deliberation and discussions are being taken place. एक लफ्ज पे एक शब्द पे कितनी बहस होती है सर, क्यों सर? So these are valuable material. We must and we must read that. There's a checklist given at the end of the CARO 22-20 guidance note. सीधा कॉपी करके क्लाइंट को भेज दीजिए सर. This is from the guidance note. So reduce your burden a great. Then you see, then property immobile है property, right? But under 105 is non-current asset held for sale, or maybe a ROU asset. ROU asset means right of use asset. Tangible asset. क्योंकि जैसे ही शब्द right का इस्तेमाल होता है, we may think that is an intangible asset, but it's not the case. ROU land, ROU property, etc. can be is nothing but the tangible property. Then even if it is classified under 105 or ROU asset, this standard is still applicable. Whether the fair value of the investment property, now fair value is omnipresent in IFRS. It is inextricably connected with IFRS. It's like jal bin machli hai, correct? Without fair value. The question, sir, as far as India is concerned, India 40 allows only one model. The cost model. The question arises, why then do you need to have the fair value of the investment property? But if you look at paragraph 79E, let me see, same. Yes, let's look at paragraph 79E of Index 40. It requires you to disclose the fair value despite the fact that there is no fair value model for the subsequent remeasurement of the investment properties. This, but in that case, again, when it comes to the fair value valuation, section 247 must trigger in your mind. And see whether it has been appointed, he's been appointed by the board or not. Or the audit committee, as the case may be. Company has revalued property, plant, equipment. The company shall disclose whether the revaluation is based on this, based on the report of the RVO. That's fine. Same is the case with the intangible assets. For intangible assets, also RVO model is applicable. Sorry, evaluation is required. But intangible assets, as far as the recognition of intangible asset is concerned, you need to see whether the development stage is applied or not. Correct, sir? Only in that case, it can be applicable. Now, when it comes to the revaluation of property, plant, equipment, the CARO guidance note has given certain examples that these are not construed the revaluation. Revaluation होने के बावजूद भी यहाँ इसे revaluation नहीं कहा जाएगा from the perspective of this requirement. A, fair valuation of the property when you move to Indies for the first time. B, remeasurement as per the due to the foreign exchange rates. Now you may ask, exchange rate difference is not capitalized as far as property, plant, equipment is concerned, which is very true. But there is one exception, and that is exception is paragraph D13AA of Index 101. बताऊंगा आपको क्या है. Earlier standard AS 11, there were an option to is the exchange differences in the profit and loss account back in 2011. Am I right, sir? Paragraph 46 of AS 11, जिनकी तहत rather than recognizing the differences of the foreign exchange in the income statement, statement of profit and loss, you are allowed to either fix asset or create a reserve for it. Certain loans were still outstanding, maybe could be outstanding, right, sir? So companies were allowed to continue this statement for those loans which were existing on the date of transaction till the tenure of that. So in that few exceptional cases, the exchange differences could be debited or adjusted against the property, plant, equipment. Now, when it comes to the ROU asset, right of use asset, it is inextricably connected with the lease. जब भी there is a tabdili in the lease obligations, the cascading impact is on the ROE set. The reason there is a result of which, and not without the नया लीज भी नहीं है, केवल एक ही लीज है. So this should not be misperceived as a revaluation, because it is as a result of restatement of the lease obligations. Correct, sir? And then again, you're blending the requirement of the experts' opinion, SS 620. And again, as I mentioned here, discuss paragraph 30B, 39, and 40 and of the Ind AS 16. Sir. The moment there is a revaluation increase, so you should see whether it has been reflected in the OCI or not. OCI means the comprehensive income, or maybe vice versa. And again, in the classification adjustment, that will not be reclassified subsequently to profit. Can I ask you one question, please? I am giving the answer only. केवल आप हाँ या ना की. Ind AS 8 कहते हैं कि wherever there is a change in an accounting policy voluntarily, it should be accounted for retrospectively. इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं. When a company changes, when an entity changes accounting policy retrospectively, and that too voluntarily, it changes accounting policy voluntarily, it has to be accounted for retrospectively only, no exception to it. All right, now a company is following the cost model, and now revaluation model. I don't say like that, but थोड़ी भूख लगी है तो change हो सकता है. So it wants to move to revaluation model voluntarily. Question, will it be applied A, prospectively, B, retrospectively? A, prospectively, B, retrospectively. It is change accounting policy voluntarily pursuant to Ind AS 8. And paragraph 19 to 31 of Ind AS deals with that fact that if a company changes accounting policy, it has to account it for retrospectively. So there is a reason for that. I agree, but there is a specific guidance in the Ind AS 8. Paragraph 17 says of Ind AS 8 that whenever the company moves from cost to revaluation for the first time, it is indeed a change in accounting policy, no denying about it. सब इस बात का इजहार करते हैं, इकरार करते हैं कि is a change in accounting policy, no denying. But it is to be then applied as per paragraph 39 and 40 of the Ind AS 16 or Ind AS 38 for that matter. So there is a specific exemption, and paragraph 18 says that for the revaluation for the change in accounting policy voluntarily, paragraph 19 to 31 will not be applicable. That means they say that Ind AS 8 ki culti.com ho gayi. Kahan pe? When the revaluation model is moved, when the cost is changed to the revaluation model for both A, property, plant, equipment, and B, even for the intangible assets. Sharing this anecdote with you is to give you an idea that read Ind AS in great detail. This is to be done. There are certain paragraphs which render the application of other standards altogether. जिसके हिंदी में कहूँ तो culti.com कर देते हैं. Example देता हूँ, read करिए घर जाके. Paragraph 68A of Ind AS 16. 68 standard 105 redundant. Says and under these circumstances, Ind AS 105 non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation is not applicable. Halaki, if you read the facts, you may be inclined to apply 105. दोस्तों is saying is that don't give them the fish, teach them fishing. Correct, sir? Idea is to tell you how to read, where to read, and what should be your approach. Your approach in Indies is to read in great detail. It comes to the institute's material, which is worth billions of dollars. I'm telling you, you must read. सच कहता हूं, अगर इनके एडवाइस हम लेने जाए ना जोशी साहब, तो लाखों रुपए की एडवाइस ये होती सर, जो गाइडेंस नोट पे हमें मिल रही सर. करेक्ट सर. बट केवल एक ही बात है, इट इज 100% डिस्काउंट. We must read. And with the loans and advances, again, the sir has discussed a very important section. I would add one more section to it, not with the loans, but I'll come to little 179, 180, which sir has mentioned very clearly. Sir, read this threadbare. Read this threadbare. There are a few exemptions for the private company, but these are practically not applicable. Like one of the conditions is that the loan should not be more than twice the paid up share capital, which is not, because हमने तो कसम भवानी की paid up capital is 1 lakh. Private companies, क्या ना sir? And any borrowings include सीधा working capital borrowing, देखो तो 5 lakh हो जाते हैं. So one more section, and that is section 73. Section 73 बहुत डर लगता है मुझे, read with rule 5, and that to chapter 5, that to rule C. 2C, 2 के बाद आते हैं ना सब exemption सर. What is considered as a deposit or not? सर बहुत भयानक section है, बहुत भयानक section है. And aging में this will come up like anything. As far as aging of trade receivables are concerned, तो आप जो दिखाएंगे ना उसमें दूसरी बहुत बड़ी गलती करते हैं हम, जाने अनजाने हम ऑफसेटिंग कर देते. ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स कुछ फिगर इसमें माइनस दिखते हैं, तो लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं टोटल तो पॉजिटिव है ना, जाने दो ना, कौन देखने जाते हैं. बट सर 2-4 केसेस बताऊंगा आरओसी जो पिकअप के हैं. I'll share one WhatsApp message with you, sir, wherein for the non-maintenance of the minute books, the Pune-based ROC has taken up the matter, and 1 lakh rupees fine paid officially. I don't know about other things. That's for non-maintenance of this. So when there's a dispute between the shareholders and the directors, matter can come up for this thing. And like this, 2 matters have come up, in which case, and that is after Companies Act 2013. Debtors may, there were some advances received from the customers, and naturally they were with the negative figure. Accountant ने तो सीधा मार दिया total. Final total plus आता है ना, कौन देखने को जाता है. What actually sin committed by the accountant is offsetting. अगर अकाउंटेंट की भाषा में मुझे कहने को बताए, बयां करने को कहे, तो मैं कहूंगा कि unwarranted offsetting. You are saying it can be adjusted against receivables from other party. Can you do so? Ideally, it is to be shown on the liability side. क्यों नहीं दिखा? 2 साल से ज्यादा पीरियड का था. And the amount received in advance from the customer has to be either paid back within 365 plus 15 days, or you have to be, you have to supply the goods. And if you fail to supply goods within 365 days, you are given one more 15 days grace and you pay, otherwise there's a deemed deposit. And इतनी भयानक है उसकी penalty. So certain sections you must buy heart, okay? And sir ने भी जानबूझ के exemption to private limited company 185 ने नहीं बताया, because it is virtually impracticable, sir. सीधे एक पॉइंट पे आपकी disqualification हो जाएगी. And this is a corollary to some extent. You can draw, you can say that this is applicable to some extent. Then the capital working progress, sir, since sir has dealt it, allow me to please skip out of here, sir, please. Anna. Of the CWIP in the CARO. Now these are about the details of the Benami property, but and sir has explained it very well. But there is one thing what is not considered as a Benami property, and for this this extract has been taken directly from the CARO guidance. These are the properties which are not गिरीश आहूजा साहब जो जिसे हमें भीष्म पितामह कहते हैं इनकम टैक्स के, उन्होंने कहा कि बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी से बचना है तो एक ही बात करो, प्रॉपर्टी को रजिस्टर कर दीजिए। This is a very devastating statement. Property does not mean any kind of real or incorporeal includes any rights, but last में कहता है and also from such properties. Correct sir? तो आप बोलेंगे प्रॉपर्टी बेच देने दो ना, रोकड़ा कर लेना. Further and says even the proceeds of the Benami property. Again, the corollary provision is there in the CARO. This and the end use of the borrowed funds or end use of the funds being advanced. If I give to, but this pravdan is already there in the Companies Act that they have to give the reasons for that. And when it gives, one of the exception to the wholly owned subsidiary company is there, but then condition is that the wholly owned subsidiary has to use this fund for its own business purposes. तो कहना चाहते हैं कि आगे जो कैमोफ्लेज कर रहे हैं ना, एक से दूसरी भाषा में को जो टोपी घुमाते, आपको जाना है अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी को ढूंढने के लिए, राइट? तो उनको रुकाने के लिए प्रावधान किए हैं. देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड बैन 1 बैन 2 फॉर्म. सर एक बात है, कंपनीज में जो फॉर्म्स है ना सर, वो सब डाउनलोड करके देख लीजिए व्हाट आर द पर्पसेस फॉर दिस फॉर्म्स एंड रजिस्टर्स, एंड सो मेनी आंसर्स फॉर सो मेनी ऑफ दिस क्लॉजेस. Now again, this is about the borrowings, and the CARO says the 5 crore borrowing, right? There is no limit in the guidance note. So the guidance note is wider as compared to the CARO. Sir, you should always get the sanction letter of the bank. More so, there is a CARO. Sir, दूसरी बात, जैसे जोशी साहब ने कहा कि भाई we are inclined to look at the ending balances. What is there in the financial statements in the balance sheet? But we may forget sight of the amount which has been squared off. Squared off loans also are equally important because that is also to alter. And sir has mentioned quite rightly the RBI circular, which is June 2000. And then the rate of audit reports. So subsequent events after reporting dates are equally important. Sir has mentioned as if मुझे कुछ सन्ना हो गई थी तो मैंने यहाँ पे आपके लिए writing भी लाके रख दी. The very important thing here, you can see there is a one common phrases, and that is nothing but defaulted in meeting the payment. Repayments. So in all these four bullet points, you'll find the company has defaulted. So default is the triggering event. Default here is a triggering event, right, sir? The company has defaulted in the payment. The unit has defaulted and baki conditions sabandi. Like even when it first is a very devastating. That is a capacity. It has got funds, but still it is not being is repaid. Second is the utilize the funds from the tender to the specific purposes. Specific purpose may utilize can be tend amounts to the defaulter. Calculation has to be done by the financial institute. Then you can see the stock of companies. I think we should always look at the master data of the companies of the ROC stock of or not, and in case. Obviously, this talks about the during the current financial year only, because agar last year ke kuch hai to fir then. And very important, sir, you again in this 109 expected credit loss matter against company. This would be considered as the receivables which has been impaired, right, sir? And this could be a very good example of the loans which is or the amount which is being receivable in your books of accounts, but they pertain to the stock of companies. समय है. Registration of charges, as I mentioned here, we have to look at this CHG1, CHG4, and CHGC register and section 77 of the companies. The number of days of the company. Now here the number of days of the company means the investment companies and not the operational companies. Correct, sir? Because there, I think this was introduced even much before the ILFS. It says that you cannot give more than 2 layers of this. Ultimate owner could be somebody else. Then these are the various ratios and the sheet, the balance sheet, which I'm going to share with you. And if agar samay permit karte hai, I'll share and show it to you right away. There we have given all the formulas except the last one, which I'm not pretty comfortable. Then, sir, I become a student for a moment. तो ये इंस्टीट्यूट में जो मटेरियल स्टूडेंट्स को दिए जाते हैं ना, एफएमजी उसमें फाइनेंशियल मॉड्यूल्स में, तो then I resorted and I downloaded that thing. I took it from one of my articles, and there it was written as far as the return on investment is concerned. It was EBITDA upon the denominator is the investment. But when I went to the site, went to the CARO guidance, as I mentioned, honestly, I found that I'm studying some statistical formula rather than some financial formula. It is a bit intricate, but not so difficult. I have given that formula also in the Excel sheet. Okay, I have given the description of the Excel sheet. Sir, वो ऐसी balance sheet बनाई है ना कि in 2 or 3 cases you need to do a data mining, like the turnover ratios. There are 4 turnover ratios, right? First is the inventory turnover ratio. Second is the creditors turnover ratio. Then is the debtors turnover ratio. Then is the capital turnover ratio, right? 4 ratios are there. But when it comes to the creditors turnover ratio, you should look at the credit purchases. In terms of data, it talks, you need to about credit sales and credit goods, credit purchases. So there you need to do some data mining. Otherwise, mostly things are linked in the formula. So it will be a bit easy. Okay. बहुत शिद्दत से साहब बनाई, but कुछ गलती रह गई तो please क्षमा कीजिएगा. But including notes to accounts and everything, whatever is envisaged has been shown in those balance sheet. Important thing is that whenever there is a more than 25% increase or decrease in this, then you need to give the reason. Change, there is a deviation in, now this para is only applicable to division. This is not applicable to division 3. This is applicable to division 1 and division 2. For division 3, there are some other ratios like the capital adequacy ratios. So these are not applicable to नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंस कंपनी को ये एप्लीकेबल नहीं है, केवल डिवीजन 1 एंड 2 में है. टैक्स इज दैट इट इज मोर देन 25%, तो घबराइए नहीं सर, यू हैव टू गिव जस्ट जस्टिफिकेशन. And on the basis of financial ratios, they say that you need to now act as a clairvoyant and see whether since this topic has been discussed with sir, I'm not dwelling, but I'm just drawing your attention. For this, the relevant provision is suppose 19 of the CARO. Then, sir, I like to point out here the going time. Kya baat hai? Wow. Is, you know, whether the company is able to meet the obligations at the end of year 1 or not. Then here, there's a difference between the liabilities falling within 1 year and current liability to 1 year payable है ना, but current liabilities के parameters कुछ और हैं. Like operating cycle. So if the amount is payable beyond 1 year also, it will still be. And the meaning of the trading and existence or the absence of the unconditional rights and all this. So point is, when you're doing this assessment of the liabilities time and whether the entity is able to meet its obligations or not, can be removed and what is actually liable to be. Seven is your Masiha. That gives the maturity table of the financial liabilities and financial assets. For Indian companies, this will help you a lot. Plans with the approved scheme, that is again, if additional regulatory information giving, there are two parts, A and B. One is a company has advance and secondly, company has borrowed the funds. It may be overlapping with the CARO requirement, but ultimately directly or indirectly lend or invest in other persons or entities identified in any manner whatsoever by or on behalf of the company that is the ultimate beneficiary. So this is really causing a big concern. And a day before yesterday's, I can share this anecdote with you that one of my clients, he said, many friends, he said that ultimately we found that the ultimate beneficiary was turned out to be Netherlands. Like a CBI agent now. But here, band 1, band 2, and band 3 will be of very handy to you, sir. This will be very handy to you. Okay, and this use as an audit evidence. Certain standards are omni-applicable here, like the management's representation letter. Okay, then in days 10, which is the events of the reporting period, because एक दो तीन बात थी जैसे मैंने सर से ऐसी बात बोली कि यगनेश डोंट फॉरगेट इवेंट्स आफ्टर रिपोर्टिंग पीरियड ना वो तुझे 10 बार बोलना पड़ेगा इन डेज 10 वो 10 बार बोलना पड़ेगा because there is something which may not have happened on the date of the balance sheet but it can happen before the accounts are authorized for the issue. Then there is a small presentation change, grant donation received in case of section 8 company. Obviously this will not be applicable to division 3 because that's the NBFC. The undisclosed income and all these, as sir has already mentioned this, I don't need to report because the word important, and this is there's a corollary requirement in the CARO also, which sir has disclosed. And very important is this, it should be disclosed voluntarily. Now, if this statement is retracted or if it is being challenged, then it will not be construed to be there. So in that case, you should ask for the, sir, what called the, konsa nama they say? Panchanama. So you should insist on the Panchanama, the copy of the Panchanama and the declaration made. But sometimes this Panchanama can be retracted. So it will not then amount to this thing. Then look at the income tax returns also. Companies, income tax matter, you're not allowed. Then take the report from the tax consultant. 26As is great important, as sir has said, even 2A, am I right, sir? 2A and 26As are very important, sir. And again, tax status demand, yeah, the demand status from the income tax is also relevant for you for the contingent liability and disclosure in the CARO also. So that if you can download, if you go to pass on everything, download it yourself and keep as a documentary evidence for that. Name please. Sir, आपका नाम बताइए. Mr. Damani has a very good point. I appreciate. So everything and anything which is there in in the demand status report need not be actual demand, but then that you have to read with, because sometimes TDS की वजह से नहीं आती है. We chartered accountant faces a lot many times, right? Because we recognize income in the financial year 22-23, whereas they provide TDS in the financial year 21-22, right? So I agree with you, but then there could be, then you have to look at assessment order मांग लीजिए ये Yeah, so here the word surrender, the company must have voluntarily admitted the addition, and the where I have this statement retracted, which I reproduce here. Okay, one more thing, this disclosure need not necessarily be for the year under consideration, but it could be for any other year. Then these are the about the corporate social responsibility. For this, sir, there are very important documents which I have relied on and I'm going to share with you. But the recent one is the CSR2, which every company must have filed by 31st of March, which pertains to the unspent 21 ending. Very good. The first is the notification 12th January 21. Second is the these are published by ICA in August 21, and there's a guidance note. But as far as this is concerned, when it comes to the CARO, there were two things other than the ongoing projects. Second is the ongoing projects. For other than all the ongoing projects, it is part B. Money is to be deposited within 1 month from the end of the reporting period in a specific account, which can be opened with any scheduled bank and titled Unspent Corporate Social Responsibilities Fund. This has to be used within 3 years' time from the year end. And if you fail to do so, again go to Schedule 7, 3 items. This is my mistake. It is there in CARO. Sorry. I made a mistake. Sorry? FAG, sorry, there's a mistake here because it is there in the CARO. I'm sorry about it. I'm going to change it and just give it to you. And these are the additional requirement of these. These ratios are applicable only to the capital adequacy ratios. Sir, एक picture बाकी would you allow me to share one balance sheet with you, please? ना तो मैं आपसे इतना प्रभावित हो गया था सर कि मुझे लगा कारो में है ही है. It's not there ना. Next year से आएगा. Next year. I see. देखिए सर मैं आपको इतना इज्जत देता हूँ कि जो आप कहते हो मैं सच मानता हूँ. So आपकी एक आवाज से मैंने स्टेटमेंट रिट्रैक्ट किया सर. आवाज सुन के बना मुझे लेट मी रिट्रैक्ट द स्टेटमेंट. ओके कहा गया. आई थिंक ही हैज चेंज्ड दिस थिंग. Sir, you continue. I just find out here and well. Acha, again, paragraph 6, 7 to 16 of CARO guidance. It will give you where it is applicable, where it is not applicable. Okay. एक बात है. Why? Then you don't have any problem. Am I right, sir? आपने कहा कि once you understand the why, there are no problem. So ये शुक्रवार को 15 को my lecture was there in Ghatkopar study circle. बनाई थी and that's why उनको खुश करने के लिए मैंने टाइटल दिया था कंपनी का The Smart Ghatkopar Private Limited. Correct, sir? And this is there. It's including the notes to accounts and every changes we have high marked it. Okay. केवल आपको वही बनना है. This all liabilities. जहां भी there is a changes we put it highlighted. है ना सर? DVC, GB सर्कल करके आपको भेज देता हूँ. Division 1 and Division 2 का including ये भी लिखा है कि accounting ratios को भी linked it. Define the accounting ratios and everything. So everything. Wherever there is a confusion, we have put it capital employed could be treated 3 ways. total assets minus liability. And this is again from the Institute of CA Materials. The material has given very specifically, it could be implemented, treated like this. तो सर आप भी इसकी कॉपी पेस्ट कर दीजिए, केवल फी भरिए, साइन कीजिए, एंड फी 100% आप ही रखिए. मेल कर देंगे सर आपके लिए. There is other material also for NBFC, there are RBI guidelines and all this. But सर इतना material है ना, एक ही बात है हम पढ़ नहीं पाते. But I promise you something. Especially institute material, they are invaluable. I will tell you, there are millions of dollars worth of this material is giving free of charge. चलिए सर, यहाँ पे मेरा वक्तव्य समाप्त करता हूँ सर. Thank you.
Listen, I must say, the way the opening batsman scored the runs and the way the partnership is shown by the second speaker, Yagnesh bhai, and ultimately we are the winner now. Right?
He is the captain.
Always, always. The Shriniwas Joshi sir started his session at the early morning. He has repeated one statement. The statement was, this is the challenge as an auditor. By saying that the government is now empowering us to raise the questions to the auditing. The sooner we start or sooner we realize this positivity and the statement, much more task and the headache now it will get reduced. Second was, the sooner we start reconciling all the required details, it would be easier for us to complete this task on time. Second speaker, the way he's going to share the utility in this Excel file, definitely it is going to help us while performing our professional duty. So sir, the morning when we started this session, where we are about to start this sessions, at that time, the thought in our mind was how to accept this challenge. But after this, listening to the legend speaker, much more of our attention for completing this audit with this all the amendments, I think now we'll be able to complete our task on time and in a good manner. So now to propose the hearty vote of thanks, I would like to invite our very active member, Joshi.
Afternoon, members and the esteemed speaker. On behalf of
Why is it
अगर मुझे सर एक और चीज बताऊं, 29th March 22 I had pleasure to deliberate on the CARO at slides, and that slide you can see was as a reference like slide number 20, PDF page number 40. All these tables have been reduced in the Excel format like this. Sir, वो भी आपकी खिदमत में दे देंगे.
All the members again and the esteemed speaker. On behalf of Jamie Daga Study Circle, I would propose a vote of thanks to our speakers. Sorry. To our speakers, CA Shriniwas Joshi and CA Yagnesh Desai for giving us their precious time and experience to educate us on the recent amendments in Schedule 3 and CARO. I would request all the members to give a hearty round of applause for them. During the deliberation of the speakers, their enthusiasm and the large crowd that was available today, we would also like to thank to all the members for joining us on a Sunday morning. Hopefully, we've learned a lot from the speakers today, and hopefully, it'll be useful for you. Thank you. Before leaving, there are two announcements that needs to be done. For the financial year 20 to 23, the renewals and the new membership forms have been sent on the group by the team. Request you to renew the same. And also the meeting calendar for April has been shared to you. So please attend on a regular basis. Thank you.
ये रेशो क्यों चेंज हो गया है इसका कुछ यहाँ हाँ